There, a young lady was giving a talk and Madhu was so impressed. We said, he said, you must get her as a speaker, and then here she is within 2 weeks. If Madhu had done that, you must know how impressed she was. And I must tell you, I have been also very impressed with this young lady because I was a trustee of CII for over 8-9 years. But 5 years ago, we had the 10th annual celebration of CII, of which I was the chairman of the celebration committee. And I had the opportunity to work in close association with her. I was very impressed with her dynamism, energy, enthusiasm, and the fact that she gave up a very paying corporate job to be devoting time to an NGO like CII. Something is commendable, for which I would like to. Okay, now coming to the formal introduction which Madhu has prepared. Swathy Satyamurti is a symbol of the expanding consumer movement in Chennai. She is the Director of Projects of the Consumer Association of India. Started 50 years ago, CII helps. It was started by a past president of this club, R. Desikan. Past president, I think he was an old member of this club who introduced me to the Rotary movement. CII helps consumers who are cheated by unscrupulous manufacturers or service providers. It also advises consumers on being smart, how they can protect themselves from such cheats. In fact, the story is when the consumers are fighting with the organization, problem doesn't get solved. They come to CII. 98% of the time, the problem gets solved without any legal recourse. It gets solved. Correct, Swathy? Swathy helps manage projects for CII from design to analysis to report writing. She looks after day-to-day operations and also sets directions for the future. She is in charge of CII's advocacy work. She leads seminars, conferences, fundraising activities and programs to strengthen CII membership. She has a master's degree in economics from Stella Maris College, MS in Applied Economics, San Francisco, USA. She is also a certified CFP, Certified Financial Planner. Starting her career in the US with American Express Financial Advisors, she moved on to LPL Financial Services as financial advisor. She worked for about 13 years in the US before coming back to India and offering her services to CII. Swathy will talk to us this evening about CII and its activities. Over to Swathy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Mr. Madhu, for inviting me here. I have to give you a disclaimer, I'm not that accomplished a speaker. This introduction is actually scaring me. I'm even wondering who this person is. I'm just a very ordinary woman here, that's about it. Okay, so coming back to the topic given for the day is consumers beware. Now let me start by asking how many of you here even think that consumers need to be beware? Okay, quite a few hands went up, that's nice. Why? Why do you think consumers need to be beware?
Because the world is full of people. I had an experience. Airtel charged me more than 50,000 when I inadvertently asked for foreign roaming. When I came back, it was not used at all.
Right.
But they demanded 50,000 or more. And the reason is they said foreign service providers send a bill and we have to collect from you.
Sir, have you registered a complaint with CII?
Yes.
You have. That's you. Okay. Oh. Okay. Yes, the complaint rings a bell. Yes. Prema, is that your wife?
I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
She dealt with them. She spoke to them.
Uma. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, that's right. We get quite a few complaints like that. So, in our experience, unless somebody is personally affected by an issue like this, a lot of people don't think about the need for consumers to be beware. Let me be very honest. I started my career as a financial advisor. I was sitting this side, talking to people, telling them about how they should manage their money, where they should invest their funds, and how they should invest it, talk about tax planning, protection, all this this estate planning. But not for a second did I think the need for consumer protection. Because I was doing what I was supposed to do. I am an ethical person. I am not, doing anything wrong here. It never struck me consumer protection is an area that needs to be looked at. Yes, now that I am back here, it was only accident, sir. It's not like I planned to give myself to this line, honestly speaking. But yes, I really like being in this line because financial consumer protection, that's how I started off, is such a big need right now, not just in our country, world over. Even in the US, that's how this whole concept started, which is the prime lending rate, the crisis that happened, right? So that's how this need for consumer protection in the financial services sector happened. Now coming back to India, now we're talking about consumers beware. Like I said, quite a few hands here went up, but again in our experience, very few people, the general public out there, feel the need to even complain, because the amount that will be involved is a small amount and they don't know where to complain, who can complain, why should I complain, what will happen if I complain. They have no answers to all these questions. So they feel, what's the point, I might as well just give it up. Now unfortunately that's the scenario right now, but in the last few years things have changed a lot, even in India, and there are new areas coming up. There is this Consumer Protection Act. I don't know how many of you are aware, but we do have an act. In India there is absolutely no dearth of acts. There are plenty of acts. The problem is in the way you implement all these acts, right? So Consumer Protection Act is there, where one person who has any problem can go to the consumer forum and file a case, and within 90 days his problem should be redressed. That's what the act says. But in reality, it's never 90 days. It could be more like 9 years, but never 90 days. Unfortunately, that's how it's been happening. And that's why a lot of these voluntary consumer organizations have come up. Like CAI is one such voluntary consumer organization. What we do, our aim, our goal is to be the consumer's voice. And how do we do this? By a couple of different ways. Consumer complaints. Like, who is a consumer first of all? Anybody who has paid money and bought a product or availed of a service and finds some defect or some deficiency becomes a consumer. And then you are eligible to complain. Now, our Indian consumers are so smart that they forget they have a responsibility. Like for instance, we got this complaint recently. This man has bought a one-way ticket to Dubai because he wants to work there. He's not a very well-off person. Someone who wants to work there. So with all his hard-earned money, he has bought one-way ticket in Indigo Airlines to go to Dubai. And this man goes to the airport, and when he is going through the immigration process, he realizes he doesn't have the proper work documents. You are supposed to have, if you are migrating from one country to another country, they have gazillion different formalities that one needs to complete. He didn't have anything in place, therefore they said you cannot fly. So he comes to us, files a complaint saying that I could not fly, therefore I want full refund of my money. The airline has to refund the money back to me. Now is this a valid complaint? Technically it's not, because there is absolutely no deficiency on the part of the airline. It's not the airline's responsibility to make sure that each passenger has appropriate visa documents or work related or any other documents. So we also get these kind of complaints, and the first step that we do is to validate these complaints. Now if it's a valid complaint, then we take it up and we mediate. That's what we do, which is mediation. It's called alternate dispute resolution, where we talk on behalf of the complainant with the opposite party. Let me give you another example. So we had this gentleman who was using a Stand Chart credit card, and he is a senior IAS officer's spouse. So he calls up and he says, I was using this credit card some 10 years back, and at that time he said in those days you didn't have a NEFT transfer, so he has to write the check and put it in the Dropbox. So he did that on time, but the bank did not cash it on time, and therefore they charged him late fee. So he calls up and he says, why should I pay the late fee? I dropped it on time. So he was talking that dispute was happening with the bank directly. The next month also same thing happened, where he dropped it on time, but merchant vendor charges, that amount I'm paying, but I'm not going to pay this 1,000, it was something like 1,500 rupees was the finance charges that he had to pay. He said, this I will not pay and I'm tearing up my credit card, I'm not going to use it anymore. So they neither said, okay, that we are waiving the charges, nor did they say, no, you have to pay it. They also said, okay, we look into it. They didn't do anything. He didn't get any further information, letter, nothing, no email, nothing. So he just assumed that everything is okay. Fast forward 10 years later, a few months back, he gets a letter from Stanchar Bank saying he owes 75,000 rupees in unpaid dues. And at that time he comes to us and he says, I don't even have any statements. I don't even know what my account number is. I have absolutely no clue. And why are they suddenly sending me this? So then we talk to Stanchar Bank and then we mediate with them. After our mediation, we were able to get that entire 75,000 waived. Back and forth, we talk to them and we get it done. So these are the kind of complaints that we are able to handle. Now coming to your complaints, sir, similar complaint, lot of people, those who travel abroad, now either call, it may be Airtel or any other service provider and ask for roaming. The other thing they do is when they go to the airport, they go to this matrix. They have their little stall and then you are in a hurry anyways to catch a flight. So you see our matrix and they say, oh very good rates, this and you're like, oh, okay fine, sign, and then you take it and you go. But you don't read the fine print. Because they all have a tie-up. All these service providers have a tie-up with someone at that international level. So what are those charges? We don't know that. And that's where the problem happens. They come back and then they see this huge bill for 40,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees. And then they are like, we never signed up for this. So they come to us and they complain and then we mediate with them. And that mediation also, all these mediations take a while. It doesn't happen overnight, but we are at it. Lot of times when the consumer goes directly to the opposite party, be it a service provider, a bank or a Airtel or anybody else, sometimes there is a lot of ego hassles involved. The consumer hard-earned money, when you lose that, when you feel that you're losing it, you are going to lose your temper and you start shouting. And that's when fireworks happen and foul language is used and nothing comes out of it. So our objective when we do the mediation is to be a neutral third party. That's what we do. Let me give you an example of another complaint. Now, like I said, we validate the complaint, we take it, we do our best. We take it up to a point and we tell the consumer or the opposite party based on all the facts what they could do. We don't make the decision. The ultimate decision is theirs. Like for example, this again another senior IAS officer. They own a Volvo X30 or XC30, one of those models. Very expensive car it is. It costs about 45 lakhs. And they had given this for service because some windshield had broken in some accident or something. This was in August of last year, 2015 they had given it for service. Now the Volvo service center said within 1 month we will give this, that's a job sheet that they have given. After that, no communication with the complainant. So they had to keep calling up. This was like one of those vehicles, that you buy, they have a personalized number plate because their son wanted it, son's name or something. A lot of emotional attachment to the car and stuff like that. So then, they didn't follow up. Come Diwali, they said, okay, we will give it later, without giving any reason as to what the delay is. Finally comes December 2015 when we had this big floods. The next thing they know, car was completely washed out, fully water entered and total loss. So then they've been talking, they also have very good insurance in place. So he claimed insurance, he went through insurance, they came, they looked at it and saw total loss of 30 lakhs is what they assessed it, and they gave him a check for 30 lakhs. That done with the insurance company. But he wanted the service center also to pay for this. They felt it's the service center's responsibility, it's because of their carelessness, because of the delay in handing over the car, this has happened. So they also have to compensate them in some way. So they said, we will give you 12 lakhs towards a new vehicle that you purchased from us. So technically, if you look at it, he's got 30 plus 12, and the car depreciates. He's paid only 45 lakhs to buy the car. So he's actually got a good deal, right? But he comes to us and he says, 12 is not enough. This is such an expensive car. How can we give only 12 lakhs? So we look at it and we say, oh, is there a deficiency in service here? You know, technically there isn't. I even spoke to the commissioner and said, sir, this is what it is. He said, you know what, ignore it, don't just tell, because there's another senior officer. But I said, okay, you know, let's not do that. Let's see what we can do. So started the mediation process, and in here we called both of them, both the parties, and said, let's mediate. Alright? What was it that you would like? In this case, those two individuals, their interaction has been so bitter. There is so much of ego involved in this. This man, the complainant, says, so then after mediation, the opposite party got them to increase the 12 lakhs compensation to 20 lakhs. They gave it in writing saying, we'll give you 20 lakhs. We want you to agree, say yes or no within 1 week's time. And these people said, I want the car free.
Sorry?
They wanted the car free. Even I was like that. I was like, excuse me, sir, what did you say? He said, I want the car free. And here I am sitting in the mediation. There is no mediation here. You know, you don't ask. Who asks for a 45 lakh car free of cost? I mean, what you got here is a very good deal. You know, I mean, it's like 70% increase from what they were originally offering you. So, in this case, what we did was, we told them, this is the best offer that you can get. We suggest that you take it. Of course, what you do later on is your decision. They did not take it. Instead, they went to the court, filed a case in the consumer forum, asking for 1 crore compensation. Why? Because they have delayed giving us the car, and that's the reason why it became total loss, and they are cheating us, mental agony, 1 crore. And these people, in turn, they are saying, who are they to tarnish our reputation? We have done so much, we even came for mediation, so return suing them for 3 crores. So ultimately, if you look at it, there is no real complaint here. Where is the complaint? Where is the deficiency? Yes, there was initially some deficiency. You try to amicably solve it. That doesn't happen. It's just unnecessary. And then they're going to go to court. Will anything come out of the court? Nothing is going to come out of it. They will drag this on for years. This is how, if you look at our consumer courts, there are so many cases pending, unnecessarily. Yes, sir?
Normally, if you have bumper-to-bumper insurance, they give you car free. Like my friend has lost a car there, they must be free.
It also depends. I mean, it's never free, sir. Like even in their case, they also have bumper-to-bumper insurance. They also have total loss insurance. They assess the value of the car. The car was purchased in 2014. So the second you drive the car out of the dealer shop, there is a depreciation, right? So that is the value that they will assess, and that amount they'll give you. And same thing they've given them 30 lakhs for that car. Whereas if he sells the car, he will not get 30 lakhs.
But normally cars, you say the brand, they give free. Normally.
Okay. Yeah, nobody is actually going to give anything free. But anyways, in this case, this is exactly what happened for them.
I had a question. If he has already got 30 lakhs on the insurance, can he claim more than that come out?
He can't.
Because he has to pay back the insurance.
He can't. He just can't, you know. So, but he wants. It's basically that ego clash. I was talking to his wife and she's like, in 7 days,
Or is it because he is an IAS guy?
Let's have questions.
whatever.
Let's
So these are basically the point is, lot of times there is not really a complaint, this happens. But where there is a valid complaint, we are here. Voluntary consumer organizations are here to mediate and help you find a resolution for the grievance that you have. Now what else do we do? Now there are certain complaints that or issues, let's say, that may not necessarily or directly affect you. Like for example, let's say the vehicle that you drive, right? How many of you here have Alto or a Santro, a Volkswagen vehicle, Maruti, Suzuki, right? So these are all like common cars, Tata Nano. These are all popular cars in India. So how many of you know that there is an organization called Global New Vehicle Assessment Program that has tested these cars and found that they are most unsafe for the passenger, the driver and the passenger. You know, the way they found that out is they do this crash testing of vehicles. So they keep dummies in the car and there is this concrete wall and they drive it and see what happens to the passenger and the driver. Gali. So they have said 0 rating for these cars. So now, this is again a kind of work, this is called advocacy work, where it's not an individual complaint that we get from consumers, but we take over something that affects on the larger part all the people. So these are all manufacturers. So then we write to these car manufacturers to ask them what's going on. Why even basic safety feature like a seat belt? Why is that not there in these cars manufactured in India? Whereas the same car, if it's manufactured in say Europe, they have seat belts as basic feature. Now what these auto manufacturers tell us is because the country has regulations, we follow that. India as a country doesn't have those regulations, so we don't need to follow it. We are not doing anything wrong. We are giving the consumers the option. Unfortunately, in India, as consumers, we are more concerned about price than safety. The first thing we ask is what is the price? What is the color? What is the mileage? We are more interested in these topics than how safe is this car. Unfortunate situation is that. So this is the area where we have been doing a lot of advocacy work, and what has happened right now is India has announced our own Bharat New Vehicle Safety Assessment Program, whereby all cars in India manufactured from next year onwards, they need to undergo this crash testing and get their own safety ratings. And by 2016, 17, 18, 2 years from now, all new vehicles must have all basic safety features mandatory in them. So these are the new rules that the government comes up with. Of course, India, it's one thing is to come up with these rules, the other thing is where will you test them? You need to have testing facility available. So those testing facilities, there is one right here in Oragadam in Chennai. All this is in the process of getting ready. So that is another area of kind of advocacy work that we do. And we also publish, we get the information out. There are so many areas like this where consumers have issues, and we conduct seminars, conferences, we invite consumers, consumer activists, experts, policy makers, and we have like a panel discussion, and then we make specific recommendations to the policy makers to see how we can change things. Like for instance, someone was asking me if there's anything new that's happening. Are all the new areas included in the Consumer Protection Act? The new areas would be like financial services that I was telling you about. Concept of financial consumer protection is very new. It's happened only in the last 5 years. Probably what's happening in the last 2 years is e-commerce. Right now there's so many of these online portals, from Flipkart to Amazon to, these are all at least the larger ones. The smaller ones, you haven't even heard of those names. They are also selling products and services. And these online portals are nothing but that Chante, what we call is just a market, because they don't manufacture any of these products or services, products mainly. So they only facilitate this exchange between the consumer and the seller. And there is absolutely no way to hold them accountable or responsible if they are not able to, live up to the promise that they make in their website. So these are the two areas that presently we are fighting with the ministry to make sure that they get included into the Consumer Protection Act. So we work closely with the government, the state government, as well as the central government and the Ministry of Consumer Affairs to make sure that all these aspects are included when we talk about consumer protection. And our website gives out information that the common man needs to know. Like, we get complaints like someone said, I withdrew cash from an ATM, and that note, when I was giving it to someone else, they said it's a fake note. They're saying, how can a bank give out fake notes? Then what do you do about it? Can you walk back into the bank and then give it and say this is fake and exchange it? The bank says we can't do it. That means everybody who mints fake currency can very well come to us and say, oh, I got this from your ATM, so please exchange it for me. So they can't do it. Then what happens to the consumer? There are so many areas like this, from genetically modified food to antibiotics in your livestock, to these kind of financial frauds, to cyber security. All these areas that affect a consumer is what we look at. Pretty much A to Z, we look at all these areas and we try and see how we can create awareness to consumers and wherever possible do advocacy work with the policymakers to bring about changes in the way things are done here in India. I think I don't want to go past.
Membership and the magazine.
Yes. So we are a member-based organization, and like I said initially, a lot of people think about consumer protection only when they have had an issue, face an issue. If they don't really think about it. So when we talk about join CAI as a member, everybody wants to know, okay, so what am I going to get? Why should I join CAI? Why should you join CAI? It's because you believe in the consumer movement. That's a very simple answer. You're not going to get any freebies. We don't meet every week in Savera and you can't network, you can't do all that. You want to join CAI because you believe in the consumer movement, and our country, thanks to our new Prime Minister, is moving towards a more consumer friendly. He talks about growth and development, and when that happens, there's going to be a lot more issues that consumers are going to be faced with. And that's the reason why we need to be even more conscious and responsible about the products that we buy. Right? So that's one reason that I would encourage all of you to join Consumers Association of India, become a member and fight. And this is another thing, if one member fights, one member complains, really not much can happen. Unity, there is strength, right? We all know that. So if we get so many complaints, then we can make a representation to the ministry and say, this is the number of complaints that we have received, what are we going to do about it? How do we help the consumers? We want to be the voice of consumers and represent the consumers' interests, either the state government or the central government. And when I say consumer, I'm talking about all consumers. We also run Consumers Association of India. We have won the tender and we run the state, Tamil Nadu State Consumer Helpline, which is housed in Yellagam building in Santham Road. Now the kind of consumers who walk in there are people who have ration card related issues. They need the green card, but unfortunately they've been given the white card. They are poor people. They don't have money to buy the highly priced rice and pulses. They need that from the ration shop, but they don't have it. They can't get it because they've been given the white card instead of the green card. So they come to us. So these are all the issues that we also represent. So we gather how many people have these kind of issues and we make a representation, and that the department to the commissioner, and he takes it up to the chief minister, and they have to decide policy basis why this has happened. Apparently the past finance secretary decided that we have a shortage, the PDS and the ration shops, so stop giving out green cards. Even if they ask, give only white cards. Unfortunately, these poor people are the ones who get affected by this. Right? So they come to us. So we need to have a repository. The other thing in India that's lacking is data. We just talk, but do we have actual figures? Very rarely we have that. So that's very important to gather a repository and say factually these number of complaints, this is what we have received. What are the commonly occurring problems that these people face? So that's also kind of what we do, is gather data and have enough facts to present when we meet the officials who are there to make these decisions and changes. And dissemination of information, we have a website that has regular information. We also have a bi-monthly magazine, and we were also running the Nuganur Kavasam, which is a Tamil magazine for the Department of Civil Supplies, but not anymore. But we also have our newsletter, so it would be nice if you can go sign up. That's a free newsletter that you can sign up. You can go to our website, which is caiindia.org, and the magazine is available online. Even if you don't become a member, you are welcome to go to our website and read the different issues, the important information that's there. The magazine has the news not only from India but also outside of India, what's happening in the consumer world out there. So I would just like to end by saying it's important. I would encourage you all to join the consumer movement. I'm not saying join CAI, but I'm saying join the consumer movement. That is important. It doesn't matter what is the value of the amount that you're fighting, but on a principle basis, it's important that you fight. Fight for your rights. But before you fight for your consumer right, it's also important that you fulfill your duty. So as a consumer, you have certain duties in terms of making sure that you are not so price conscious, but also safety conscious. When you buy a product, you make sure that you get the bill, the warranty card, basic information like this. Have all this ready, fulfill your duties, and if there is any deficiency, fight for your right. You can always come to CAI India, you can go to our website, register a complaint there, or call the helpline, or send an email, or get in touch with me, or get in touch with Rajan sir and he will forward it to me, whatever it takes. Any complaint that you have, anywhere that you see there is a problem, please, I would encourage you all to register the complaint and join and strengthen the consumer movement in India. Thank you. Yeah.
If I have a problem where the customer who sold the product is in some other state, even that is taken out?
Good question. Technically, judicially speaking, there will be a jurisdiction issue, but for us, it doesn't matter. Now, if the seller is outside India?
No, another state.
Oh, another state, yeah. Oh, we get complaints from people who have bought products, but the complainant lives like in Maldives, in Singapore and things like that. As long as the seller is within India, we can do it. No problem. Yes, sir.
I am a member of CI only.
Wonderful. What's your name, sir?
Chetan.
Chetan.